we have an issue in this sector. We have a huge issue in this sector, and it goes to the heart of what I think is the issues we create for ourselves, because we are so proud of our science, water quality, public health. I mean, we've got the health of the nation in the palm of our hands. We mess up the recipe, you hurt a lot of people.
Welcome to the Make Water Work podcast, where we dive into the people, ideas, and innovations shaping the future of water. I'm your host, Isaac Pellerin, and alongside my co-host, Megan Glover, the founder of 120 Water, we bring you insights from hundreds of incredible conversations we've had over the past 9 years with inspiring and energizing leaders in the water industry. Each week, we share those stories and conversations with entrepreneurs, community champions, and innovators who are making water work for everyone. Whether you're a water professional, a curious innovator, or simply passionate about our most precious resource, this podcast is for you. Let's get started.
Well, Isaac, I am super excited today, again, to welcome Kelley Dearing Smith onto the pod. And Kelley, thank you so much for making water work.
Thank you. This is going to be a fun conversation.
Yes, yeah, we know we were talking a bit in the pre-show that we probably needed this to be twice as long as 30 minutes. So we'll do our best to stay on brand.
Oh, I love that. See, we're already talking my language. Yes.
See, your love language. Yeah. So Kelley, we like to start out with kind of a personal story. We know that I've never met a person in water who doesn't have a story about how water found them. So would you mind sharing your story about how water found you?
Yeah. So water definitely found me, and it found me in January, February of 1999. So I'm already dating myself. I was working in a newsroom, managing a newsroom here in Louisville. And I always said, whenever someone else fed my child breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it was time to find a new career. So at the time, I was begging a nanny to come out to a snowstorm so I could go work in a snowstorm. And my husband and I were like, this is not right. I happened to know somebody at Louisville Water Company. I was talking to them and she said, we've got this brand new job, but you're so overqualified, but you might want to check it out. I had no idea where my drinking water came from, really didn't know anything about Louisville Water. I didn't grow up here. So I said, what the heck? I know this person. Let me do the interview. So I like to say I drank the water. That was 1999, and I joined Louisville Water, and I never looked back. I now use my journalism skills more than ever. And I've gotten to do so many wonderful things that I never would have gotten to do. And I do know the story of my drinking water. So water found me because I was burnt out managing a newsroom. And yeah, it's been a good ride.
Oh my gosh.
That's
a great
that's
story.
incredible. And yeah, it's so funny too, because so much of when I think about my experience in water and communications, your name always comes
Aw,
right to the
thank
top when
you.
I think about Louisville Water and all the work that you do. So I'm curious if you could kind of take us back to like what was communications like before you arrived? If it was a brand new position, what were they trying to achieve? And yeah, let's brag about yourself a bit.
So I walked into a really good foundation. When I started in 1999, we had just trademarked our tap water as Louisville Pure Tap. So we became the first and the only to do it. We had a very simple education plan that we were doing in schools, and we were handing out empty bottles, right? Getting people to try to drink water. And so the team at the time, which by the way was one person, I doubled the team when I came on board. We went from one to two. So we had the idea that they wanted to up their community game, which I think is really forward thinking in 1999. And so they hired me with an open slate to say, go out and find community partnerships. We want to elevate the brand. Katie, the daughter who I left TV for, ended up in a daycare playing with water. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe we need to do something else with this education program. And so from that point, it just snowballed. I was able to build a school curriculum, got to write a curriculum, did some video work on our history, started to build on the outreach. Over time, added social because that became a thing. And so from 1999 to today, my team is about 22 people. It is a mix, though, of full-time, part-time, contract staff. So it's education, community outreach, branding, the Louisville Water Tower, which is a museum, traditional media, internal comms, economic development, public affairs, and probably the bonus is I have a seat at the big table. So the job is now a vice president. There's nothing that gets discussed without the lens of the consumer, without coming through me. So I really feel like I've been able to grow something. And fun fact, the lady who hired me retired, works for me as a contractor now. She says she does all the stuff she loves and none of the crap she hates.
That is a phenomenal story. That's I don't think I really appreciated how much you've grown that team and that muscle within the organization.
Especially thinking about that time period of 1999, right before Y2K,
Yeah. Oh my
internet
gosh.
just kind of really becoming mainstream, pre-Facebook,
Oh yeah.
pre-social media, and just you've been able to start with a foundation and move through every phase of how consumers receive information and then perceive a brand. And so I am curious, like, what some of the examples of the impact of a good water communications program has meant for Louisville Water.
I think the first impact is going to seem obvious, and it's trust. We have a relationship with this community on so many levels. It's more than the faucet, it's more than the pipes underground. We're part of public health at our core, but we're also part of education. We're part of things that make Louisville fun. We're part of economic development. We're part of the food you eat. Fire protection, we maintain 25,000 fire hydrants, so we have a partnership with the fire department. So having that laser strategic focus has allowed us to communicate and build partnerships where it makes sense. Not just throwing things out there and hoping something sticks. We actually have a strategy that we go about and we use research. We are grounded in research. We measure customer satisfaction annually, biannually. We actually measure the perception of our brand. We do that every fall. We measure water quality perception. So the impact has been trust. 9 out of 10 people surveyed say they trust Louisville Water. We have an empathy score. Half of our customers say we're empathetic, which I think is amazing. Um, and then we also have a fun fact that 60% of our customers, when we survey them, say they miss us when they travel, which I like that you think about me when you travel. Not me, Louisville Water, but yeah.
It's funny. I've heard that anecdote, and I've also heard, but let's fact check this. I want to hear this straight from Kelly. That sometimes when kids go off to college, they will ask to have their parents send them Louisville water. Is this true?
This is true. It happens all the time. People will come here and then they move away and you don't miss something till it's gone, right? And so you go to another city and they're like, "Oh my gosh, the water doesn't taste like home." And so we'll get calls and emails and people will fill up these jugs. They'll do it on vacation too. People travel with vacations with their jugs of Louisville water.
Yeah. I grew up on a well with sulfur, and that's, to this day, a story that my husband tells about coming to my home for the first time, and like, "How did you ever drink this? It's just disgusting."
Well, Megan, there's something to be said about aesthetics. And I really didn't appreciate this till I got to learn the science of drinking water. You can have the safest, most highest quality water that meets all the EPA standards. But all of us as a consumer, our first impression of water quality is aesthetics. How does it taste? Look, the feel even in your mouth. But that costs money, right? That's not a regulatory piece. So I think it's unfair sometimes. I know I'm a little cocky. I'm like, you need to care about your water tastes like because no one's going to drink it if it tastes like crap. But I also recognize that Louisville Water has made a very strategic investment to say we are going to focus on taste. It's actually one of the 200 plus tests we do every day in our lab is a taste test. Um, so we're that fanatic about the quality of our water here.
In your brand, your product.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can't ask for a bourbon distiller, someone at the airport to put branding up, or a restaurant server to recommend Pure Tap if they don't believe in the quality. So it's so many levels.
And kind of to your point, that quality piece is so much tied to the sensory
Perception.
experience
Yes.
that someone has with it, which is how you get buy-in to build trust. Because people, kind of to your point, they will not believe that the water is meets all the water quality
Mhm.
regulations if it tastes or smells bad. That it's a hard fact to swallow. But
It is, and I think that the aesthetics and that water quality trust we have, it also paves the way, when you handle things like a lead service line replacement, when you have a conversation about a boil water advisory, when you're doing a big infrastructure project, or let's be real, when you're raising rates. I mean, having that visible, relevant thing. I just don't want people in Louisville. I don't want the only time that they hear or see from Louisville Water to be when something breaks, there's a national crisis, or we need money. It's just like the three of us. I have a relationship with you. I know you. We can have a conversation. And that didn't happen because you reached out when you needed something, right? I've gotten to know you over the years.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. Establishing that trust, that relationship. And then tracking that customer satisfaction, not being very purposeful and deliberate, right? And knowing if you're going to release something, how can you make sure you always have the temperament of the consumer like at hand as you're making decisions? That's rare.
It is rare, and, now that we've become a lot more mature in our data collection, like, so, for example, I just got our June customer sat report. We're looking at, so where are the zip codes where we have that lower customer satisfaction, and what can we do to move the needle? Was there a project there? Is that also resonating with our call center? How are calls coming in? So, and where are the happiest Louisville Water customers? Is there something we're doing there that we need to keep doing more of? So we've tied that research now even to construction projects. So if we're doing a large infrastructure project, my team comes in and does what I call the strategic saturate. What's all the places we can just get that message out? And then let's make sure in our research that we target those zip codes. Let's see if we were able to move the needle. Construction is a mess, right? All I need you to do is to embrace the inconvenience for the convenience of having high quality water. And I know you're gonna be mad because I'm gonna be mad too. But if we can get to that good, happy point at the end, then I feel like we've done our job.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
the empathy. You're empathizing with the end user, right?
That's empathy. Yes, that is total empathy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Switching gears and thinking, Louisville Water being the standard of good. And, Kelly, I'm going to say something controversial that, you and I had talked about, leading up to this, that our industry as a whole has a marketing and branding problem. We're just not good at it, right? Louisville Water is the example of good. So I guess, Kelly, what can we do as professionals in this industry to like overcome that?
So I couldn't agree with you more, and I shout it quite frequently. We have an issue in this sector. We have a huge issue in this sector, and it goes to the heart of what I think is the issues we create for ourselves because we are so proud of our science, water quality, public health. I mean, we've got the health of the nation in the palm of our hands. We mess up the recipe, you hurt a lot of people. And so because of that, we become too confident and we become very defensive when someone questions or when someone just wants to know why. We instantly just spew out all the data, all the facts, all the infrastructure numbers when what did they just want to know, can I drink the water and what are you doing? And the reason I use that example is it points to strategy. There is a strategy with communicating, building relationships, being in the right place at the right time, just like installing a water main. You're looking at the elevation, the gravity, the topography. There's a strategy to doing that. And so until we value in our sector a communicator as much as we value the chief engineer, I don't think we're ever going to move the needle. Now, saying all of that, if you had to choose between a water main or Kelley, you're going to choose the water main because most of our utilities are small and medium and they cannot afford. So then you're asked, what do we do? Someone has to be at the table thinking like a consumer, thinking like the parent, thinking like the mayor, thinking like a fourth grader or a politician. And how are they going to receive that message? And that's hard when you don't have that background. But if you can just put that in the core of your mind that we don't need to talk about the diameter of the pipe, we don't need to talk about CCR or the word PFAS maybe in the first sentence. We just need to talk like a human.
But there is an ROI, right? An outcome, I think, to Kelley, to having a Kelley, whether it's, full time or not. And think Louisville, like you guys are doing some things around the ROI of your efforts. Do you think that's replicable in our industry? And if so, how are you doing it? And what are you doing? Yeah.
So I'll give you an example of an ROI where I feel like we are able at Louisville Water to raise rates on an annual basis because of the work that our team does and all of our employees do, right? We are visible, we are relevant, we're talking about the value of investing in your infrastructure. So I think that allows us that space to move the needle. We're also addressing affordability, right? We know we're a business, right? We're not just a utility, we're a business. So I think that's one example. I think the other ROI comes with the generation that's coming up. So I think about my girls, Katie and Courtney are 26, 24 now, almost 20, no, 28 almost. They're not the generation that's going to the store and buying cases and cases of bottled water. And they're also asking questions that you and I probably never asked when we were younger and I had kids. So I think that's the ROI of community engagement is that younger generation is going to value the product and also going to kind of pave the way. No, that's what I'm hoping. Is it easy to replicate? I think just changing how you communicate could be one way to replicate. Your employees, do they even know your story? How many employees ever go through the treatment plant or ever go to a water main break site? Probably not many. Yeah, but that takes effort, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk in the water sector now about consolidation. I think we need it. I mean, how do you justify the money for these small systems when it's time to replace? And full disclosure, I grew up in a small town, 3,000 people. But it's not sustainable and it's not in the best interest of our community. I tell people all the time, you can have your name on that elevated water tank. You can keep it, but the people in that town just want to know the water tastes good and they can drink it. I mean, water's so political, which it shouldn't be.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I think that is where there's a lot of good creative ways of consolidating, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for people for
Yeah,
utilities to pool resources and tell a collective story, as well. I know my
yeah,
first water conference that I ever went to, what I was struck from coming outside of the industry was just how much meeting folks who work in a water utility or public servants, how much they care about the place, their placemakers. And when I think about what you've done a really good job of explaining how Louisville Water impacts the place that everyone lives. It makes it the place that you love. And so I'd love for you to go into a little bit of detail. We were talking before this about some exciting events and the way that you kind of connect those dots for the community.
well, I think because we have such a mature program now, I wouldn't even say we're pushing the envelope. We're just opening it up. We're just saying, what else can we do? So we started, employees, a good plan always starts on the inside, growing out to community groups that make sense, like the health department, like schools. And now we're into these areas where I think is the next frontier, and that's economic development. We're part of some of the biggest events in Louisville. There's a concert series here called Bourbon and Beyond, and we're helping to bring bottle fill stations there. We do bourbon and water tastings. We have a tasting mat. We do that along with economic development folks to open your eyes to not only a good supply here, but high quality. The other things we're doing is we're highlighting local businesses now that use our water. So I have this sense that, one of the things that makes Louisville Louisville is the water. There's a lot of local pride here. So we have this effort called Made with Pure Tap, where we highlight local businesses, whether it's a bakery, maybe it's a hair salon, a gardener. How do they use water? How does Louisville Pure Tap? So we're taking that a step further on a statewide level now, and we've launched an initiative called Water Grows Kentucky. So whether you are in the Louisville area or not, water is part of what you do: agriculture, manufacturing, distilling, food and beverage. So we're highlighting businesses across the state on how they use water. Um, and people go, well, why are you doing that? I mean, I know it's not necessarily to sell more water. That's not really the ROI. the ROI might be a new business coming here. It might be trust coming here. It might be when that national headline comes out about a new emerging contaminant, someone goes, ah, Louisville Water's got that. I'm not worried. And that to me is the start and stuff that's really hard to quantify, especially when you work with a lot of data people like I do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that,
It is.
especially one, how you're expanding what you've done locally to the state
Mhm.
level, especially being in an ag heavy state.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I feel like there can be such a disconnect between water and agriculture, in the way that our different segments talk about it. And I think that's brilliant because there are things that we need from each other,
Mhm.
both from the agriculture industry that impacts water quality, water source,
Mhm.
those kind of things. And then, but how everyone is using water, what great case studies to just personalize it, make it relevant, and tell the story of the state.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I think the other thread to pull on there that we hear, I feel like at the very local level, maybe smaller system level than Louisville, is no one cares about the water. The water proceeds are just used to fund things you can see, like parks
Mhm.
and libraries. But what's fascinating, Kelly, about what you've done and through Louisville Water is you've actually given water like the physical the product, the good product, the brand, right? Like you've made it tangible for people, right?
Mhm.
Whether that's political people running for office saying Louisville Water's got you covered. Next contaminant, next big project, don't you worry, Louisville's got you covered. Like you've really helped the city overcome some of the, I think, things we hear a lot from smaller
Mhm.
systems, if that makes sense. Like just with a good brand.
I think, Megan, that gets to this idea, and I see this, I see it in where I grew up, is that it's just this idea of this silent provider. We turn it on, it's there, everyone should just drink it and go away. We're fine. We're fine. There's no need to talk about what we do. Um, and I just don't get that. And I've never gotten that. I mean, when people ask me what my brand is, I am curious, I'm creative, and I love a good conversation. My mom, got so tired of me going, why? And that's just who I am. I don't understand why anyone would want to be a silent provider. I mean, because it gets to the idea of a utility and not a business. So, for example, let's just say you opened a small business in your hometown and you had 5 or 10 employees, just like a small utility would have. Would you really be quiet if you wanted people to use and endorse your product? But yet we have small utilities who think, I think it's not to their fault. They are incredible public service. They have the public health at the core of what they do. They just never thought of themselves as a business or a brand. They think of themselves as a utility, which I think is wrong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they don't have the right people around the table. They
And they
don't
don't
they
have the
don't
right,
they don't have a
yeah.
Kelly around the table. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
but I do think though, as part of what we do at Louisville Water, and this is as much me as it is Louisville Water. We have an obligation to do good. So we are the largest water provider in the state of Kentucky, and I know I have resources that a lot of people don't, and I know the governance structure makes it easier for me to do those things. So we do a lot of training with our rural water partners. I will talk to anyone in the sector who wants a good idea. It's not proprietary, right? You just can't have my trademark, but I'll share my good ideas with you. So I think in our water family, we need to be a lot more collaborative about what we're doing and not competitive. There's so much good work to be done.
So I guess, on that note, I mean, close us out, Kelly, in terms of if you could leave some practical advice for a system who wants to invest in communications, who wants to elevate their silent brand, like what are 3 things that they could take away from this and start to implement?
So I think the first thing I would say is know your water story in 3 sentences. Where do you take water from? How do you make it? Do you deliver it? Do you buy it from someone? What is your service area? What's your water story? What do you do? The second thing would be, do your employees know that water story? So whether it's 5, 10, 50, or 100, gathering everyone around and thinking about how are we going to describe ourselves to the people we come in contact with at school, at church, in the community, on the job, right? Those two things to me would be where I'd start first. If I had to add a third layer, and this takes a resource, so you started with your story, you have your employees, you got to be in the community. And so the easiest way you can do that is to serve the water. If you don't have a person, you can have a pitcher. Make sure you have a pitcher and cups with your water at every city council, the school board. Make sure that at your board meetings for good grief. And then if you wanted to spend a little money, can you get in the schools? Can you read at the local library? Summer reading programs are huge in a small town. Can a water meter reader be in the library and reading a book about water? Think about little things you can do just to start to get engaged in the community, and then it just starts to grow.
Oh my gosh.
I love that.
I do too.
Yeah.
It gives me chills.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so much of our story is giving me chills today. So we could talk forever, and I really appreciate you spending this time with us, Kelley. It's we are just such admirers of what you've done from the very beginning, and we're just so glad and grateful that we could share your story.
Well, times like this are a good reflection point for yourself. It does make you realize and think, wow, over the course of 26 years now, I've been able to grow a really good thing with the help of an incredible team and an incredible company. And yeah, it's kind of cool.
We'll keep making it work for everyone, right?
I will. Yeah.
Oh, phenomenal. Well, you have a wonderful day, and we can't wait to see you on the road.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Make Water Work podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts and questions. Connect with us on LinkedIn or send us a message. Together, we can make water work for everyone.